Retention policies are essential for data compliance, but they're often invisible. When working in SharePoint site or managing content in OneDrive, users and administrators cannot see which retention policies were applied. Unlike published retention labels, these policies do not provide any visible indications on the sites or items they govern, leading to the confusion and lack of transparency. To demonstrate this, here is a SharePoint library with several documents. The RC final document has a retention label applied to it. It is very clear once I add the columns to the default view. There are no columns that would help to indicate that there is a retention policy applied to the items. If you go into compliance details of the CB12 document, there is nothing that indicates that this item is under retention. We are now going to delete the CB12 document. Let's go and delete it and confirm. And it is gone. I'm going to check the preservation hold library for this SharePoint site. And let's refresh it because it was open. And here is the CB12 file. There is a GUID attached to the name, but it's undeniably the file we just deleted. I just modified the default view for this preservation hold library to include the preservation original document name, and you see that it is CB12. Some experts suggest that this invisibility is part of quote-unquote user-friendly design intended to keep users from being overwhelmed by complex compliance rules. However, this rationale can be counterproductive. Users may find the system confusing rather than reassuring. Instead of enhancing the user experience, this invisibility can create frustration when the users can't easily understand the rules that govern their content. A more transparent approach, where retention policies are visible but not modifiable by end users, could strike a better balance between the user-friendliness and transparency. Adding to this issue is the difficulties in accessing retention policy details within Microsoft Purview. Administrators must click through multiple screens to view most properties of a policy. Want to see which sites or groups the policy applies to? You'll have to dig into the edit mode, then click through each location individually. This process is time-consuming, especially in the environments with a large number of policies and locations. Here I have a demo tenant with only a few test policies, but in real life you're going to have hundreds of policies and hundreds of locations. So here is the site that we just used to delete our CB12 file, highly regulated test for retention policy, and as you can see that this is a location for retention policy that was indeed applied to this SharePoint site. Microsoft Purview offers a policy lookup feature, and this tool allows you to search for retention policies applied to a specific user, SharePoint site, or M365 group by entering the exact matching string, for example, a site URL. However, this tool has its limitations. The information it provides is restricted to scope types, applications, last modified, and date created, far from the detailed, actionable insights that administrators need. And you have to enter the URL of each site that you want to check, and you can only search for one item at a time. We are not going to solve this issue today, but what we are going to solve is reporting on all retention policies in your tenant. I developed a PowerShell script that automates the process of retrieving all retention policies from your M365 environment. The link is in the description below. Once the script generates the CSV file, you can easily load it into Excel for further analysis. This is particularly useful if you are dealing with a large-scale implementation where the sheer number of retention policies could be overwhelming. And here is the script. As I mentioned, the link is in the description below. I'm just going to copy it and paste it into my PowerShell. You're going to be using the Exchange Online Management module, so make sure that you import the module and connect the session. Now I'm going to paste the script and hit enter. And here's the message that the file has been generated. Mind you, I shortened the wait time, magic of the video making, so that you don't have to wait. But usually it takes quite a while, even in my demo tenant where I have just a few policies. Note that the auto-apply for legal info, this is a last policy, has legal record for the publish labels, and this is a policy that publishes the labels. And the rest of the policies here are just your quote-unquote regular normal retention policies. In this particular case, I am not interested in the policies that publish labels to the workloads because those labels are visible to all of the users. And we are achieving this here by using the RetentionRuleTypes property. And we filter out the retention types that publish the retention labels to the workloads. If you wish to view all retention policies along with the retention rule types, use the following script: get retention policy retention rule types. It is available in the same repository, and I'll provide the link in the description below as well. Let's execute the script and see what it outputs. We sorted the output by the retention rule types, and you can see that we have the apply, then we have the default and the publish. You can customize the main script by asking it to fetch the retention rule types default for standard retention policies only, or apply to retrieve auto label retention policies, or using publish if you want to retrieve only policies that publish labels to the workload. Another helpful script that you can find in the repository is list retention policy available properties. This script allows you to inspect all the available properties of a specific retention policy, making it easier to identify additional attributes that you might want to include in your custom reports. You can inspect all of these properties and decide which property you would like to add to your report. Or maybe there is something that you would like to remove from the original script that I provided. I tested this script on most locations and attributes, but I didn't fully test it with Teams policies and a few specific properties. I've run it successfully in my demo tenant, but I cannot guarantee how scalable it will be when applied to a very large tenant. You should be fine, but please use it at your discretion and always test it first in a controlled environment. Nevertheless, this script serves as a strong starting point for gaining better visibility into your retention policies. Enjoy!